Well, good evening, family, and thank you for tuning in to the nightcap. I want to jump right into this and talk about making the best of a bad situation. Making the best of a bad situation. When we study the Gospels, we find out throughout the Gospels that the disciples got caught up in some terrible situations, awkward to say the least. But before we get there, I think there's one story, the book of beginnings in Genesis, especially around the latter part of that book, about Joseph and his brothers. Think about this. The people that should have embraced him, nurtured him, and been happy for him were the ones that envied him, hated him, and ultimately sold him out. The Bible says they threw him into a pit. He sold into slavery. He goes from being in the pit to in Potiphar's house. Then goes from being in Potiphar's house, after Potiphar's wife lies on him, he's in the prison. Think about this. The dream he had, he was riding high. The dream God gave him, he was sitting high, and he was not looking down low, as if to say to those beneath him, look at me. But no, he was in a position, in a place of honor where he could reach down and help them. And the Bible says that while he went through everything he went through, think about this. I want you to read this. It says, at every instance that the Lord was with him. When he was sold into prison, the next phrase says, and the Lord was with him. When his brothers threw him into the pit initially, and the Lord was with him. When Potiphar's wife lied on him, the Bible says, and the Lord was with him. Every stop along the journey, we find out that God was with Joseph. And so it is. Might I suggest to us that no matter where we find ourselves, particularly if we find ourselves in some situations we had no control over, we did not initiate it. We're not reaping what we sowed in this area. Can I say this? The same God that was with Joseph is the same God that's with you and I. What we must do is do what Joseph did. Focus on the dream. And if your dream didn't have you in the pit, keep your eyes on the dream. If your dream didn't have you in Potiphar's house, keep your eyes on the dream. If your dream didn't have you in prison, keep your eyes on the dream. And if you focus on the dream and allow your heart to remain pure, eventually God is going to bring that dream and make it a manifested reality. We can make the best of bad situations if we allow the peace of God to rule in our hearts and to keep focusing on the dream. My prayer for you tonight as you're turning in is that you don't lose sight on what God showed you initially. Let's keep building the kingdom one person at a time. Let's build.